Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're dialing in from today, and welcome to another Data Plus Women Germany event. Today we are collaborating with three fantastic ladies from CoffeeCodeBreak, but more about them in a second. First off, as always, what is Data Plus Women Germany exactly? And who are we? That's myself, Heidi Kalbe. I'm a Tableau ambassador and also a senior consultant at Woodmark Consulting here in Germany. I started Data Plus Women Germany in late 2019, so over 2 years ago, as part of the Global Data Plus Women initiative. I was joined last year by my co-lead, Leah Zimmer. Data Plus Women is an initiative that is aimed at offering women a community all around their work in data. So we try to offer women a platform where they can share their knowledge and experiences and celebrate their successes. While Data Plus Women originated from within the Tableau community, it's open to people from all backgrounds. And also, it's not just about women. We are aimed at people of all genders because we are all united under one common goal of advancing diversity in the data community. We hope to offer a platform to all minorities, whether that be gender or age or language or ethnicity or academic background or any other kind you can imagine. We want to help people find a secure foothold in the world of data, build a network, discover opportunities, etc. Emily Kuhn, as always, said it best. She said, it's data plus women, it's not data minus men. So today I'm very excited to be joined by CoffeeCodeBreak, another fantastic initiative you should definitely know about. And I am joined today by Xenia Handel, Dörte Neundorf, and Marissa Silk. So Xenia will introduce us to CoffeeCodeBreak, and then afterwards Dörte and Marissa will join us for a panel discussion. So make sure to drop any and all questions you may have in the Q&A. And of course, as always, I will monitor the chat as well. We'll hope that you'll stick around until after the panel discussion, where I will announce our upcoming events and I will invite you all to some informal networking. So any questions you may not have answered earlier, you can ask then. But please try to get all your questions out. And with that, all I can say is it's absolutely fantastic to have you all with us tonight. Have a lovely evening. And Xenia, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I will now share my screen. Okay, just give me a short thumbs up if you see my screen.
Yeah, looks good.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for this nice introduction, and thank you for having us. I will now shortly introduce CoffeeCodeBreak before we start into the panel discussion. So, hey there, my name is Xenia, and I'm part of CoffeeCodeBreak since almost 1.5 years now. I'm working as a product manager since almost 9 years, and I love to work with development teams, having a digital product I can take care of. And besides that, I'm a digital nomad. So whenever I have my laptop, I can be wherever I like. So most of the time I'm traveling a lot, and I'm also an absolute sunset and sunrise lover. My iPhone says I have around about 20% of sunrise and sunset photos. So I'm a little bit obsessed with that. So much from my side, or about me more. I'm not alone today. Heidi also mentioned together with me that are Dörte and Marissa, and I'm more than happy representing CoffeeCodeBreak. With the two of them, you will hear some words about them later from themselves. So, what's CoffeeCodeBreak then? As a startup, as a product manager, I start building my products with the question, why. And I would love to also start with the question, why did we start Coffee Code Break? And it all started with 3 simple facts. Great technology is based on the diversity of its developers, and technology is used by everybody, but there are only 15.3% females in STEM jobs, at least for the German market. Also, my own experiences showed me pretty early in my career that the tech world is not yet a female world. So I already mentioned I'm working in the tech world since 9 years now. I worked in 5 different companies, from small sizes to big sizes. And I worked within 10 development teams. And throughout this whole time, I worked with over 65 direct team members. So really my development teams, the people I have daily contact with, and only 8 of these team members had been women. So that comes from my calculation to 12%. There are many reasons for that, like missing role models, many different biases, stereotypes, also cliches. Many young females just think that they won't fit into this tech world, or they need math for exceeding or accelerating in this area. So I think I have this urge that this needs to change. So fortunately, I'm not the only one wanting that change, because if we are having products, digital products outside there, used by everybody, then we have to build them by everybody, and not only a certain group. And I already mentioned I was not the only one thinking, having the same thought. So in October 2020, Coffee Code Break was born. We are a couple of women working in the tech environment, and wanting to be part of that change. So what does Coffee Code Break, or what do we offer? We offer free mentoring sessions and coaching sessions, and a safe space for networking, especially for women in tech, or those who want to be in tech, or even only thinking about maybe entering the tech world at some stage in their career. So we want to be the role models we missed at the beginning of our career. We want to break those biases and those stereotypes. We want to spread the word that technology is for everybody and not only male dominated. And on our platform, you can easily book small time slots to talk about certain topics, mostly related to tech, but also topics like imposter syndrome or working abroad, or also like mindfulness. And to give you a little bit more insights into Coffee Code Break, I have some facts and some nice emojis. Also, our platform is online since 12,000 hours, around about 12,000 hours, so like roughly 1.5 years. There are today 56 mentors on our platform, able to talk about different topics, also from different areas, all tech related, so software developers, product managers, user experience managers, data scientists, etc., etc. There are a lot. At the 8th of March, last year, we officially registered now I got it, as a charity in Germany, which is really important to us, because then it's really official charity. And we chosen International Women's Day to have our first meeting regarding that. There had been over 200 sessions between mentors and mentees talking about different topics. And we speak over 15 different languages, including Chinese, Hindi, Turkish, Arabic, and many, many more. And we want to grow bigger. We want to also get more diverse, more different mentors and also mentees, of course, which brings me to my last slide. If you want to book a session with one of our mentors, or if you want to become a mentor yourself, just check out our website, CoffeeCodeBreak.de. It's also available in English. For any other topics, just write us an email. Or if you just want to know a little bit more, stay in touch with us, you can also follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram. That would be the short introduction about Coffee Code Break. And now I would say, let's talk about mentoring. And as you didn't hear something from Dörte and Marissa so far, I would hand over to, I'd say, Marissa, to just introduce yourself shortly to our audience.
Sure, happy to. That was such a great introduction. And thanks everyone for being here today. Talking about mentoring is super important, and I'm really excited for the discussion that will follow. So before we jump into the questions, let's finish off our introductions. So I'm Marissa. I am an American product manager living in Berlin. I'm originally from New York, and I've been in Berlin for almost 5 years now. I currently work at Onfido as a staff product manager in the biometrics team, which is really great. And I joined Coffee Code Break almost 6 months ago. The time has really flown by. I've been doing mentoring for a long time, but I was very pleased when a friend of a friend introduced me to Coffee Code Break, and I really felt like I had found a home so that I could have a much broader reach in who I could mentor and how I could be mentored, and really feel like I was part of sort of a bigger community of women in tech and women mentors in tech. So yeah, that's it about me. And Dörte, you can introduce yourself now.
Yeah, thank you all of us for the great introduction and descriptions. Let me say a few words about me. My name is Dörte Neunhoff. I live in Munich, actually. I work as a department head in an automotive bank in Munich, and everyone can imagine that might be BMW. So I had the department called IT governance. That means my career started in IT security. So I started in a consulting company doing IT security, and then worked in all parts of the IT of BMW. And I'm now heading a department of about 40 people. And what might be also important on me when we talk about the women's side of working, I have a little son. Actually, you probably saw me looking behind me because he just came home and asked for what his mama is doing, and I had to send him away and allowed him to watch TV. So that's great for him, what we're doing tonight. But that's part of what I'm pretty, what makes me as a person, that I'm a working mom, and I'm a very proud working mom, proud on work and on my career, and proud of my son. I love having that both, and that's part of me. And what I really think, and you all said, it's so important to add different perspectives, and it's so important to add also that perspective to and that option, actually, because it's so great to have it both. It's it's the greatest thing on the world, actually, to have it both. So at least from my perspective. So that's a few words on me, but I'm happy to answer any more question you might have on my person, on whatever you think might be interesting for you.
I love that. Well, thank you and welcome to all three of you. I'm very happy to have you with us tonight. So let's maybe start at the beginning. Marissa, why did you decide to coach or mentor others?
I think like sometimes it seems like, you might like wake up in the morning and think like, I'm going to be a mentor. At least for me, that's like not what happened at all. It was still quite early days in my career, but I had been working in product management for a bit and I had been working in tech for a bit. And I think someone that I knew said, hey, I have a friend who, is like thinking about a career in tech and you work in a tech company, like, would you want to talk to her? And it just kind of like happened organically or grew organically like that. And now all of these years later, I like purposefully decided to sign up as a mentor with CoffeeCodeBreak, but it definitely didn't start out that way.
Xenia, how about you? Was it also like an organic delve into mentoring, or was it like a key moment that you can remember?
So I also never thought about, I'm the perfect mentor, because I'm also like suffering from imposter syndrome. For me, it was, I had this urge feeling changing something about also facing sexism at the workplace. And then it was a coincidence because I posted something in a LinkedIn group. And Caro, she's the founder of CoffeeCodeBreak, saw my LinkedIn post, and then we had a really nice chat, a really great coffee chat. And I told her about what I'm up to back then, and she told me about CoffeeCodeBreak. And at some point, she was like, "You would be the perfect mentor." I was like, "What? No, why? Ah, no. I'm not." And but she convinced me and said, "No, that's really, I love having more women like with my background, also product management, dealing with the tech world every day." And I was like, "Oh, okay, then I just jump and I will find out whether I'm a good mentor or not." And fortunately, it's been a success so far.
I love that. Marissa, before we started the webinar, you mentioned that you sometimes get asked, like, why do you mentor women specifically? Do you want to delve into that?
Yeah, I feel like there's so much to say there, but yeah, especially, I mean, just from Xenia's like metrics that she showed about her own background, I'm very used to being the only woman in a team, or even worse, in a company. I've been, like across big groups of collaborators where I was the only woman. And especially when I was younger and maybe less experienced and not so confident, and I looked really young and I sounded really young, even younger than I actually was, it was really difficult to find my voice and feel supported and feel like I wasn't on my own. And so, a lot of my motivation to taking like a more active approach to mentoring, but specifically to mentoring women and women in tech, was that I really wanted to be a person that I really like didn't have across a lot of touch points in my career. Here in Berlin, in addition to my work with CoffeeCodeBreak, I also tried to mentor women-founded startups, because I also think that this is like a really challenging spot. And I think that just having another woman in your corner who's cheering for you and totally independent, and giving you, advice or being a sounding board can be a really powerful thing. Actually, like, it's not even about sharing knowledge or experience. Sometimes it's just about being there and having a presence and feeling like you're not alone. And so that's like really what drives me to mentor women specifically, so that even if you are the only woman in your team or your company, or you feel like there aren't that many women in your space that you get to collaborate with on a day-to-day, at least that way you have a woman sort of there rooting for you somewhere in the background.
I love that. Thank you. Dörte, you mentioned that you are very proud about being a working mom and like I have tons of respect for that. Do you find that your mentees tend to be more like working mothers as well?
At least they're asking question on how that either is or might be. So people quite often ask me question, is it possible? That's really, actually I could repeat more or less everything that Marissa just said on why being a mentor, but maybe I add exactly one of the things that I do is things showing it's possible. Of course it's possible. It's just there. And I think that's so important. And that's what I answer. If it's possible, I say, yes, of course, just do it. So people ask this question. I think it's on encouraging that it's possible if you want it and showing that it's possible, just being there. Actually, I work in other communities where we just say it's necessary to show it's possible. That doesn't mean everybody have to, of course, not at all, but it's possible. It's just and it's fun actually having these great experience. You said you have lots of respect. Yes, there are moments that are a bit challenging, but aren't there? We all have these, but it's really, and that's what people ask. Is it possible? And my answer is always is yes, if you find out the way that's right for you. And there's a way for everyone who wants that. Men, women, whatever, doesn't count.
Can you elaborate a bit like on the unique challenges that working mothers face in IT or in the tech sector?
It's I think really maybe the main challenge is this question whether it's possible or not, because that question implicates it might be not possible. And that then everybody starts to asking all these questions. And I remember when I was pregnant, people asking lots of questions on will you come back? And if you know me just a few bit, of course I will come back. I love my work. How could you ask me not to come back? So I think the challenge that I think is psychologically the hardest is really not to lose your confidence that it's doing right what you do. Of course, there are day-to-day challenges that, well, we just have Corona, and you can probably imagine my son was 6 and we have 2 full-time jobs and I have a son at home. They're very practical challenges, but that's something you can organize in normal times, not in Corona times maybe. But I think that the main challenge is really not to follow all these ideas coming from around telling you it might not be possible. Of course it's possible. And it's great. I can repeat myself, but it is great. I love it so much. I sometimes feel like I'm cheating because I get both.
I love that.
It's really crazy because I'm remembering being a student, and one of my professors, I don't remember the context, but he started speaking about, yeah, it's getting tough or it's going to get tough for women having both, so having children and having a career. And then he looked at some of us, so some women, and his eyes were full of pity, and he was like, I don't want to be you. I was like, what? And in such moments they are creating those thoughts about, no, it's not possible.
And maybe I can put another experience against it. At the moment, I'm a rather old mother. I got my son was 44 and he's now 8. And I sometimes experience with colleagues of my age who have actual older children that they kind of jealous that I have both. That when they are 50 and they missed their children, I mean, the children probably go to university and they have not really seen them growing up, that they get jealous. So at some point, the men envy me. They have pity on, or and that's really great, because then you see they understand that it would have been possible if they tried enough.
Yeah. Okay, so let's delve a bit into the types of questions that often come up. Xenia, what is like the top 3 questions that you get asked?
Oh, the top 3. So mostly it's about product management. So most of the topics we're talking about is around the question, what is this something for the mentee? So most, they had contact like with the product management department, because some are software developers and they're now like just looking around what they could do next, so to say. And then that's like the root question. So is this something for me? And then it's question like, how is your day looking? And what kind of specific qualities do I have to bring in to be a good product manager? So that's mostly product management, but I'm also talking about mindfulness and my digital nomad lifestyle. Also, most of the time is pretty interesting to many people. So most of the time it's like, okay, product management, I have every question answered. Going to the next topic, what about mindfulness? And then I share some things I like to do, like meditation, yoga, and such things. And then it's like, okay, and now tell me about digital nomad. How are you doing that? And are you traveling a lot? And so that's like the main areas and the main questions.
That's definitely an interesting one. Marissa, how about you? Do people or do mentees come to you more with like questions about the tech sector, or more about questions about being a woman in business?
Yeah, it's interesting. The questions are largely about like product management and sort of like tech specific questions. I think quite similar to what Zinnia was saying, I have a small subset of mentees that ask kind of either about how to like break into product management from something else, or how to kind of like level up to the next stage of their product management career, because product management is often quite like a generalist role, but it's also possible to specialize a bit. And people sometimes ask about that after they've been doing the job for a few years. I also get asked, and I think that this kind of reflects different trends in product management from last year, especially, but I had so many mentoring sessions of mentees who had recently read Teresa Torres's Continuous Discovery book and wanted to ask me about how to implement discovery in their day-to-day product lives. And it was like so funny, because I had this stretch last year where every time I talked to someone, they were asking me about Teresa Torres's book, which is, you know, also a topic I feel passionate about, but it really like reflected the trends in the industry. And also towards the end of the year, I had some discussions about how to approach different kinds of salary or compensation conversations leading into sort of performance review season as well. So I'd say those are the top three things that I talk about in mentoring sessions.
Cool. Dörte, how about you? Do you have similar questions or something completely off track?
Well, similar but not the same. We had one topic just covered, because I get the question on how to be a mother. And the second one is quite often, how do I develop myself in terms of the next career step? How do I find out what's good for me? It's not so much focused on a specific topic like product management, but really, how do I find out what might be the next step for me? And that I often talk, not just, of course, I cannot tell anyone what the next step might be, but I can probably help how to find out what the question might be. She could answer for herself and finding out what the next step might be. I think that's quite the things that people ask quite often.
Yeah, I love that. Looking for orientation just in general. That's yeah,
exactly.
Okay, I'd like to remind all our attendees, you are absolutely free to drop any questions that you have in the Q&A or in the chat if that's easier. I'll try to monitor both. So not just talking about all of my questions, though I still have a bunch left. So, but again, drop any questions you may have. Xenia, you mentioned something super interesting in your initial introduction of CoffeeCodeBreak. You mentioned that there is a lack of female role models in the STEM industry. What would you say? How can we be more of a role model, not only to women who are already in IT or in the tech sector, but to also women who have not even yet considered a STEM career, maybe?
Oh yeah, that's a question we are a thing we often talk about in the core team or in the Coffee Code Break session. So how do we like get to the people and to the women? I guess so. I try to go out there to like maybe being a bit louder in the social web, just to show myself and showing, okay, I'm a product manager, I'm working in tech, like that others can see me, also like other female women can see me. So I try that path, and also like talking about Coffee Code Break wherever it's possible. So a really good path to change that I haven't yet found so far. So like the perfect way of like spreading the word a little bit more, because we also women have to find us on Coffee Code Break. And what I often have the feeling is that many people think that they have to have a certain question before they like entering mentoring or searching for mentoring. But I think mentoring does not have to start with a certain question. It's more about, talking also about the daily life, and then there are topics are developing like itself, and then you're learning from that.
Yeah, I like that. So mainly being openly passionate and vocal about being a woman in IT. Yeah. Marissa and Dörte, do you have anything you would like to add to that?
I think it's a lot on the role model thing that we talked about, and maybe also showing the very many different options that people can have in that tech area. I myself like to talk, especially to very many different women, to really not just know but also feel that it doesn't have to be a certain type of woman to make a career, but it's possible for everyone. And there are many different kinds of women, of course, of also men, but it's so important not to think you have to be somehow, you are the type that goes to tech, this type doesn't exist. And so that's one of the things that I'd like to really say. It's not about being somehow, it's just about being what you want to be, and then just do what you want to do. And that's something that I tell quite a lot of people, not just in Coffee Code Break, but everybody else who wants to know maybe some more, that it's so important to not think you have to be someone else, like someone else thinks you should.
Yeah, I love that. For me, it's been a lot about showing what I wanted to be as a kid and how that resonates with what I do today. Because oftentimes people are looking, like, for example, I wanted to become an actress. And today I'm very passionate about public speaking, about IT topics, which I never thought would be like in alignment with one another, but just looking, okay, what did I want to be and what are like the aspects of that and how can I find that in IT, can be an interesting point.
That's great.
Okay. All right. We talked a lot about mentoring. So when you consider yourselves mentors, does that mean you are never like in need of a mentor yourselves? Marissa, do you maybe want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I think, like, to be honest, like, you're never really like done being mentored or growing or needing support or evolving. And I think that, even if you've decided to become a mentor yourself, it's still really important to find a mentor and to sort of be on both sides of these things. And actually, you can see this amongst the mentors in CoffeeCodeBreak. So one of the main benefits of being a mentor in CoffeeCodeBreak is that you also can be mentored by other mentors in the group. And so actually a lot of the sessions I've done were like fellow CoffeeCodeBreak mentors who wanted to chat about their own topics and get some support or have a sounding board and different things. I think sometimes, you might have a mentor for a season. The way CoffeeCodeBreak is set up, it's like a little bit geared towards kind of one-off mentoring to create like space for any woman who would want mentoring to create that availability, though it's not sort of a requirement. But in the past, I've also sort of worked with a mentee or a mentor for a season, right? There was a particular set of challenges or a particular area where I needed support or some personal development or professional development and vice versa. And therefore sort of, I was a mentor for someone for 9 months as they sort of were transitioning their career. And then, at other moments I was being mentored for 3 months while I got started in a new organization. And so I think that it's really just important to figure out like, what do I need and how am I going to get that? And it might be that you sign up to be a mentor or be mentored within the CoffeeCodeBreak network, but it might also mean a different kind of setup.
Great. That actually ties into our question from the audience. So Dörte, maybe you can take this one. Gabby asks, do you often follow up with one mentee, like several times, or do you get more one-time sessions?
Well, in the CoffeeCodeBreak context, actually, my experience was more one time or maybe 2 times, but not these monthly periods. In other contexts, I do mentoring also in my company or on other. It's sometimes really that you say you do it every 4 weeks, and even saying you have some little homeworks and follow up that homework. So all kind of scenarios. Until some scenarios where you say you meet whenever there's a question, and that's also something I do. I mean, and vice versa. Yeah, whenever there's a question that I might need some mutual help on, something not that I can answer, and maybe I can add something on the mentoring question, because I think actually for me it's much easier when I do mentoring. I got more open-minded, especially on this CoffeeCodeBreak format, where you say you meet someone, you've never met that person before, you're not very likely to see him or her again, and you just talk for an hour. And I think it makes myself, it's fantastic for me just to not to judge, not to think, not just to answer questions. And for me, it's easier to ask questions after. So it helps me actually being a better mentee, learning more from my own mentoring coaching sessions that I have quite regularly. So just, sorry, switching back to the question, but on the question, it's more one time in CoffeeCodeBreak.
That's super interesting. Thank you for that. So yeah, finding questions that you might want to answer for yourselves while talking to mentees.
Yeah, and it's easier. I mean, if you are a mentee, you probably not always get the answers from your mentor that you like firsthand, and it's easier to deal with that if you had it in the other way around.
Yeah. Xenia, I know that CoffeeCodeBreak was originally like a German initiative, but you do have an English page, and you mentioned that your mentors speak like 15 languages between them. We do have a couple of overseas attendees here. Are you open to mentees from, or mentors as well, from all over the world?
Yes, absolutely. So there are some mentors also like being in Europe. As far as I remember, we don't have a mentor so far from overseas, so from the US or even more far away. When it comes to mentees, Marissa already told us that she has some from the United States, and I absolutely love that. So I want this, or we want this to spread. And from some other mentors, I know that they even had some mentees from a state in Africa. As far as I remember, it was Kenya. It was one state in Africa, and I absolutely love that. So wherever you are, just it doesn't matter where you are. And we have a bunch of languages, so you can choose from. So wherever you are.
So CoffeeCodeBreak is slowly but steadily taking over the world.
Hopefully, yes.
That's a good ambition, yeah.
Aiming for that, yeah.
I love that. Okay, Melissa, what would you say, what makes people a good mentor? Like, how can people decide I should be able to mentor other people as well?
That's such a tricky question. I think if you have a couple of years of professional experience under your belt, then I think you are more than capable of being a mentor. Definitely at that point, you've had some interactions, you've had some challenges, you've seen some things, you've done some things. And I think that, a lot about mentoring is really about sharing and growing together. I think it's, I read an article in Harvard Business Review this morning, actually. It was all about sort of like the benefits in both directions through a mentoring exchange, and that's kind of like the ideal state and ideal goal. So you don't need a ton of experience to become a mentor. If you have been working for a bit and you have some knowledge, then all you need to do is, listen and ask good questions and take part and be open to having kind of a two-directional exchange with your mentee. I think that's all it really takes.
That's great. Thank you for that. Dörte, we have another question from the audience from Milagros, who asks, do you give some tips or materials for the sessions as a mentor?
I'm not sure, does it mean for every session or in general? I can probably answer both.
Probably when necessary, yeah.
Yeah, it's of course I do. I mean, what I said, that my discussions mainly or often deal with how to find out what's good for you. And there are lots of, tricks, ideas. Sometimes there's a list of questions. Sometimes there's an idea on a book. So I really try to inspire and to give some ends that people can follow when they decide that they want to do or not. But the idea is really to say, what would I recommend to do to find out what's good for the person? And I think it's exactly what Marissa said. It's about sharing. It's not something that I said I have a certain tip for every session. It doesn't work for me, but it's really sharing my experience and then really saying, when I was in a similar situation, what tricks, what material did help me, and then I try to find out whether that might also work for the person. I don't know if that exactly answered the question. Please add anything you want to know.
Yeah, Milagros, if you have any follow-up questions, please again drop them. Yeah, okay, that was it. Great. Okay, maybe one last question. And Xenia, what is like the one thing you wish you had known before mentoring others?
Wow, that's a tricky question.
And maybe the others can think about that as well, because I think it's maybe a nice closing point.
I'd say, so I was super nervous before my first mentoring session. And if I'm thinking about what would I tell myself before that session, it would be just be you, just share your experiences, and just try to figure out what the mentee needs in terms of, sometimes in some sessions I'm the one talking like 90%, because the mentee is asking question by question by question, which I like. But sometimes there are also sessions where the mentee just tells stories, and I react on that, or I tell them or say something to their experiences and stories. And I guess that's important to know. So every session is different, and just like go with the flow.
I love that. Dörte, how about you?
I think what is important not to think that there are certain requirements. What I learned is just my being there and being open is enough. And of course, this probably doesn't answer every question, but it's enough, because I think really it's on role models. We had that topic before. It's on being there, being specific, and just, yeah, being available. And it's not on being somehow or being especially competent in this or that area. It's just, what I learned is just focusing an hour on a person is the greatest gift you can give. And there's nothing, no need, no other need. That's enough. And I'm always surprised how much it obviously, if I believe the feedback, and I do, how much people get out of it. And how easy it is to give. It doesn't need any big preparation or anything. It's just, I think it's really, it's a great gift you can give just by being there.
I love that. Yeah. Marissa, how about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that's been said. I was, as soon as you asked the question, Heidi, like the first thing that came to mind was kind of like, you don't have to have all of the answers. I think that sometimes like signing up to be a mentor implies, or you might think that you need to have X amount of expertise or experience, or you need to know the answer to everything you get asked. And really that's not the case at all. I think like one of the best ways that we can help get more women in tech and support the women who are already there is by creating moments for visibility and also creating sort of space and opportunity. And that's like kind of exactly what has been shared today. So that's the advice that I would have given to my former self considering becoming a mentor.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, we do have another question from the audience. Dörte, I think you talked earlier about how sometimes mentees raise questions that make you become a mentee as well. So have you ever been in a situation where you became the mentee? So maybe like a mentoring situation turned around on itself?
Actually, not that explicitly as it said that, but of course I'm learning a lot from the sessions. And when let's say I ask a question in the session and then we discuss on the answer. And of course there are some ideas that come to my mind, what might be another aspect to my own answer on that. So I don't know whether that's so obvious for the mentee in that moment, but it helps me, of course. But it's so because I'm learning on people. I mean, on how people react. So I'm learning lots of things. I love that actually. I've met so many interesting people during that sessions, but we did not declare it as a switch actually.
Yeah. Okay, and Marissa, another question for you. You just mentioned that you don't need to have all the answers, but can you remember like what was the toughest question you ever got from a mentee?
I think sometimes if because again, especially with CoffeeCodeBreak, these are largely one-off mentoring sessions. And as Dörte said, it's like you're coming into a virtual room with a person you've never met before. And so the only context you might have is what they share with you in their booking. And then, based on what they share at the start of the session. So sometimes, I've had mentees that have really specific challenges that relate to like their environment. And it's like been kind of a learning process as well for me to understand like how to make the best out of a short one-time session so that I can ask the right questions behind that so that then I can support them and help them with that challenge. So it's not really exactly about the specific question I was asked and more about the nature of some of these mentoring sessions, especially if you don't, know the person's company or you don't know their sort of area that they're operating in, or they have a really nuanced challenge and you're totally outside, sometimes figuring out the best follow-up questions so that you could sort of get to the heart of the matter fast enough so that that mentee gets something out of the session. I think that's actually the hardest part. Tania, what do you think?
The same. So I was thinking about, is there one specific question? But I don't remember a certain question, but I remember one session. It was about she was a student back then, and like at the end of her studies, and she had 2 really good offers what she could do after she graduated. And that was kind of tough because I, as Marissa said, I didn't know her so well. I didn't know something about the 2 companies offering her a job. And for me, it was like, I can't tell you which one to choose. And then it was more like this elaborating, like baby steps to the, and I just kept asking questions so that she can at the end choose what she want or where she want to start. And the best thing in this particular session was also like, because she was like, I want to have the perfect job. I want to have this perfect job now. And this, like, it doesn't have to be the perfect job, the first one, and also not a second, and also not the third. So it's, you are going, I'm pretty sure you're doing well, whatever like offer you are choosing, because it's a start, and it doesn't have to be like the perfect job in the end. That was also coming back to the question, being a mentee in the mentoring session, what I learned a lot, like this, okay, this doesn't, my job right now is not the end. I can choose being some making or being in a completely different role, like in a couple of weeks if I want to, or not weeks, maybe not weeks, but months or years. So.
Well, thank you. Okay, one final question, Xenia. If people think, hey, being mentored sounds like a good idea, or hey, maybe I should be a mentor myself, what is the immediate next step they should take now?
Go to CoffeeCodeBreak.de. If you want to be a mentee, choose your mentor. There are many great persons, and find yourself a time slot that's fitting for you. Or if you want to become a mentor, at the end of the page, we have a form. It's a Google form you can easily fill in. And then we got a message, and then we will contacting you regarding the following steps. And then soonish you could be on our website and having mentoring sessions yourself.
Well, that sounds just great. Thank you to all 3 of you. Thank you for introducing us to CoffeeCodeBreak, for sharing your experiences, your thoughts, your recommendations with us. So the 3 of them will stick around for a bit of networking afterwards. So please, everybody, stay in the call if you have any more questions. But for now, I'd like to draw your attention to our upcoming events. So we do have our next event exactly 4 weeks from today. So apparently more Wednesdays this year. Our next event will be on Wednesday, March the 23rd, and we will be hosting Melissa Hildees, who will talk a session, Am I on Mute?, about empowering people who may not have a voice at the table. And then the month afterwards, we don't have the event page for that yet, but on Wednesday, again, April the 27th, we have Adiomisola Adegeye, and she will talk about things that she wishes she knew when she pivoted to data analytics. So some more interesting sessions you should definitely check out, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you at our upcoming sessions. Please do bring your friends. For now, I will stop the recording in a second, and I invite all of you to join us for a bit of networking. So where I will re-invite you to the call so that you can talk to Xenia, Marissa, and Dörte yourselves. So again, thank you so much, Xenia Handel, Marissa Silk, and Dörte Neundorf for joining us today. And I'm looking forward to the upcoming discussion.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for hosting.